Hi everyone, welcome back to Sports Kathi. I am joined by Rohit and Karan, and we are back after a long break. And what has happened is that a T20 series between India and England, containing 5 matches, has just culminated. And what we saw in that is that India lost the first match and then lost the third match again, and it was a 2-2, and there was a decider in the fifth match, and it also went down almost to the wire, but we managed to win a bit comfortably by the end. So that's how the series panned out. And one of the important things about this series is that this is between the first and the second team in the world in T20 rankings, and this is some sort of a dressed up rehearsal for the T20 World Cup. And one of the series where we decide which player should go to the World Cup or which player should not, and how the Indian squad should look like. So it was also important that few newcomers play for as a statistic. Since 2017, no player has debuted for India. So last player who debuted for India was Shreyas Iyer. This time we had few players who caught the attention, and so let's look on to how the series spanned out. And I think you have also prepared a rating system, to find the new players, like Surya, Kumar, Yadav, and Ishan, Kishan, and all. You have a rating system out of 10 to see how those players fared in this particular rehearsal. What do you think about it, Rohit?
Yes, thank you, Vaishakh. Firstly, I just want to say, yes, it was a very good, entertaining series. To be fair, it was a competitive one. That world number one plays world number two, and it lived up to its expectations. It went to the final match, as you mentioned. One point which you said that about the statistic, I just want to add a point to it. It says the last batsman to debut for India since 2017 was Shreyas Iyer. We have had debuts who are ballers, but yeah, for a batsman, yes, it's Shreyas Iyer, and yes, in this series we saw two debutants. Now, yes, we will be talking about the ratings for the players. We felt that it'd be too much to actually talk about each and every player. So what we have done is we have picked up, handpicked 4 players from each team who we thought can be discussed. Who played, I would say, a role which or performed in a way which we expected or did not expect or did not meet our expectations. So 4 highlighted players from each team, and that is who we are going to rate. So I have Karan with me, and so me and Karan will be doing the ratings here. So for starting off, we'll first go to the man of the match, of the final match, of the decider match, Bhuvneshwar Kumar. So all our memories will be recently with how he performed in the final match, but let's see how he performed over the series. So after you, Karan, what is your rating for Bhuvneshwar Kumar on 10?
Thanks a lot, Rohit. I mean, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I've given him a 7.5 out of 10. And the reason I've given him a 7.5 out of 10 because he was injured in the last IPL and he hadn't played much cricket. And I was skeptical that Bumrah wasn't playing this test series because he's gone out for his marriage. And I didn't know that which Indian bowler will step up. And it was good to see Bhuvneshwar Kumar step up, even though he picked up only 4 wickets in the 5 games he played. His bowling economy was of 6.38. And that was really wonderful to see. He was getting that natural swing which his action allows him to do. And I think the reason he won the decider was pretty much because of Bhuvneshwar Kumar. I mean, he had a stat of 15 runs and 2 wickets, 4 overs. So that was something very well done by Bhuvneshwar Kumar. And throughout the series, he performed really well. So I think it's good to see Bhuvneshwar Kumar back in form. He's not back to his best, but he's getting there. And I think the IPL will help him get there. And I'm pretty confident that he should make it to the T20 squad. Uh, After Bhuvneshwar Kumar, let's talk about one of the disappointments of the series, and that would be KL Rahul. Over to you, Rohit, for KL Rahul.
Yes, you rightly mentioned disappointment of the series. I have because he was such a disappointment series. I have not much to talk about in terms of stats. His first 3 matches read 0-1-0 or 0-0-1. So it's binary. I remember whatever the order was. So that actually shows that how poorly performed, because given that he came into the series as the world number 2 batsman, and I would say even the best batsman for India in this format, and to have a series like this, it's kind of underwhelming. Something which we didn't expect. And even when Kohli did repeatedly mention that for him, Rohit and Rahul are his main opening batsmen. And in the end, in the final match, we saw that Rahul was actually dropped, maybe rested, you can say, but he was dropped in my eyes. And Kohli opened. And not just that, we also heard Kohli saying that he will be opening in the IPL. So that kind of gives an indication that maybe in the future he for India itself he might be an opening batsman, or he will be looking for the slot of opening batsman. Given how well the others played in the middle order. So in that sense, that just showed how much Rahul from the best batsman in the series has gone down. So for that reasons, I think my rating for him in the series is a 1 out of 10. I initially was looking at 2 because I was giving a benefit of doubt, but then I think 1 out of 10 suits better for him, and that is stark reality of what a series was. So that's my rating for KL Rahul. So the next player we go to is one of the debutants of the series, one of those players who actually I think has pushed Kohli to say, okay, let me think about opening the batting again. So that player is Surya Kumar Yadav. So Karan, what's your rating for Surya Kumar Yadav?
I mean, I have always been of the opinion Surya Kumar Yadav needs to be in the Indian team, especially T20. That guy has been performing, scoring runs for almost 2-3 years now. And it was a disappointment to see him come into the team so late. He came into the second match, did not get a single ball to play, was dropped for the third game, did not say anything. And then comes the fourth ODI. India is down 2-1, and then we get Surya Kumar Yadav comes up, and the first scoring shot in international cricket goes for a six. I mean, Surya Kumar Yadav has been phenomenal. He's played 3 games, but he's only had 2 innings. He scored 89 runs, which included a 57 and 32. But it's not the runs, it's the strike rate at which he scored those runs. His strike rate was 185.41, and that is wonderful. All that work he's done with Mumbai Indians is showing. And the other thing with Surya Kumar Yadav is he's a phenomenal fielder. He took the highest number of catches in the series, which was 5, and that was joint most with David Malan. He did drop 1 catch in his debut game, but other than that, he was phenomenal. And seeing someone debut at the age of 30 for India, you're always a bit skeptical. But considering his IPL form, I think Surya Kumar Yadav is a phenomenal player for us, a phenomenal find. If KL Rahul doesn't find form, it will be very hard for him to come into the squad, provided Virat Kohli opens and then Surya Kumar Yadav comes at 3. So I'm really happy with Surya Kumar Yadav, and I give him a 9 on 10. And the next player we would like to review or give a rating is the man of the moment, Mr. Virat Kohli. And over to you, Rohit.
Oh yes. Next is up the captain Kohli. Coming to the series, he was in an indifferent form, you can say, not exactly in T20 format, but over the formats. He had I would underwhelming test series. Given his standards, we're talking his standards. We are comparing with his standards, and he started the series in a very poor manner. He got out the first match to a leg spinner. Not surprising, he has struggled against leg spinners, which is not something good to see. I think he will improve. I think he will. That's one part he will need to improve. But after that, since then, in the next 4 matches, 3 scores of 70 plus. That's incredible. If someone had 3 scores of 70 plus with a average of 115 in the series, and a strike rate of 147, you would be saying, "Wow, he had a wonderful series. It's a 10 out of 10." But for Virat Kohli, given what his standards are, given what the benchmark he sets for himself, so for that reason, I still don't give him a 10. I give him an 8.5 for now. I know it's slightly below what Surya Kumar Yadav's rating is. I've given 8.5 because couple of reasons for me. Because out of the 5 matches, given that he's Mr. Consistent, he's the man of the T20. And in that sense, he had still 2 failures. That's one reason. But the other reason is that he's playing against leg spin. Because I felt even when the innings where he actually did play well, his tactics against, or his performance against Adil Rashid was slightly underwhelming. And for me, that's a kind of point of concern, because every team in the T20 world has a good leg spinner, and we will be playing this, and every team will be seeing this. And I'm sure in this IPL, Virat Kohli is going to see a lot of leg spin, because the way he has played, the way he attacked or did not attack the leg spinner was a kind of point of concern. So that's the reason why I've given 8.5. But any other player scoring 230 runs, I would assure a 10 on 10. But for Virat Kohli, even though he broke the record for a bilateral series run score, I still give him 8.5 because his standards are high. So anyways, so that's the 4 players were Indian players, 4 Indian players we are reviewing here. And then let's go to the England team. So let's start off with the world number 1, the best player in T20, coming this series. And I think he still holds on to that position. That is David Malan. So Karan, after you. And what is your say on David Malan?
I mean, as you said, he's the ranked one T20 batsman in the world right now. I mean, if you have Virat Kohli for India, you would have thought that it would be David Malan for England. But in my opinion, he underperformed poorly, I would say. He managed only 148 runs in the 5 innings he played. Out of the 148 runs he scored 68 runs in the final innings, which means basically he scored 80 runs in his first 4 innings. Considering he's the best T20 batsman in the world, I expected better out of him. In the first 4 games, he struggled. Maybe he would have taken that time to get adjusted to the Indian conditions. Maybe I think that this is the first time he was playing in Indian conditions, so that took a bit of a time. But it's not the runs he scored; it's also the strike rate at which he scored the runs. He had a strike rate of 120, considering he's the best batsman in the world. It was a bit low. But I feel that with the IPL coming up and Kings 11 Punjab have picked him up, I think that stint will help him for the World Cup, because the World Cup is also happening in India. And he showed us in the last game how demolishing he can be. So from that perspective, David Malan did have a poor series, but he has the potential of winning a game on his own. From that perspective, I would give him a 5/10, and I expect better out of him in the IPL, and I hope he does well. The next English player we will be discussing is I would say, the Shoaib Akhtar, or the English Express. Every ball he bowls is 148, 149. It's Mark Wood. So over to you, Rohit.
Oh yes, Mark Wood. Oh, he was impressive. I mean, what a series he had. Like yes, towards the end of the series, especially when the pitch got flat, especially in the last match, he was taken for runs. But otherwise, the beginning of series, the way he bowled, he missed the match. He missed the match, and we won the match. So in the first match, he came bowled extremely well. And then second match, he was missed big time by England, because India's did score a lot of runs against his replacement Tom Curran, and we scored a lot of runs. And that actually was shown, because in the third match when he came back, he again destroyed our batting lineup. He just destroyed our top order. The first and third match, our 6 over power play score was 22 and 24 or something like that. So that showed the impact he had, and that was exactly the pace which he was bowling at. As you mentioned, Karan, 145 plus was consistently bowled at. Our batsmen did struggle against that. I wouldn't even say it was a short pitch delivery. It was like maybe the back of length delivery at that pace was extremely difficult for our batsmen. And we saw our batsmen trying to score runs and not able to score. And at many a times even survival was difficult. I was actually surprised, given how well he bowled, why he did not play in the test match. So it was kind of surprising there. But for me, yes, he had a very good series. Yes, towards the end, he had a couple of bad matches, but then overall, I would say his series was wonderful. He picked up 7 wickets, and for me, in that matter of fact, his economy at over 8 was maybe slightly higher, but I would say I would give him a rating of 7 out of 10 for now, which means he was above average for me for the series. So that was Mark Wood, but Mark Wood bowled extremely well. He was that, I would say, the bowler who was a new or the new pace express on the field, but we always had Jaffra Archer. So next player, Karan, after you, next player you are going to rate on is Jaffra Archer. What is your rating for him?
So I remember when I was watching the final game, and when Harsha Bhogle asked Ian Morgan what was the one key learning from this particular series, and he said England's power play bowling. And as Rohit mentioned, when Mark Wood and Jofra Archer were on song, India was struggling. There were times when India was 22 for 3, and the main architects for that particular performance were Mark Wood and Jofra Archer. I mean, if you survive Mark Wood, here comes Jofra Archer, has a very small run up like Jasprit Bumrah, but then again, he gets those 140, 145, and he has those variations. So I think Jofra Archer did really well. He was the second highest wicket taker in this series, where he picked 7 wickets. But he picked up 3 wickets in the first game and 4 wickets in the fourth game. He went wicketless in 3 games. So from that perspective, I felt he could have picked up a little more wickets, even though his bowling economy was of 7.75. So he was very economical. But I expected him to pick a lot more wickets, probably be the highest wicket taker. From a batting perspective, I think he only got 1 innings and he scored 18 runs. So that was pretty good of him. I feel Jofra Archer is a good find for England. Predominantly, he's going to be very important for the T20 team as well. So I've given Jofra Archer an 8 on 10. But the one concern for me is that I think he's got an elbow issue. So he'll be heading back to England after the series. And I think he'll be missing the first part of IPL, which I feel might be a blow for England from a World Cup perspective, and especially for Rajasthan Royals as well, because they were specifically depending on that England contingent they have of Ben Stokes, Josh Butler, and Jofra Archer. So I think Royals and England will miss Archer from that perspective. But I hope he comes back and he kills it. So yeah, I think Jaffra Archer did really well. The next player we will be rating is Sam Curran. I rate him highly, but I think he had a very average series. I think Rohit has more to add to that.
Yes, we were debating on who to pick as the fourth English player to talk about, and we were discussing about whether to pick Butler, Roy, Curran, maybe Ben Stokes, but I decided to just go ahead with Curran is because I just wanted to explain a couple of points because Curran is an extremely talented player, and for him, I felt he was kind of not used well enough in the England team, and that's exactly why I want to mention the series because he comes to bat at number 7 and he comes after two left-handers like that's Stokes, Morgan, and then Curran. So you have three left-handers in middle order, which again did not make a lot of sense for me because you can see the Indians actually utilized that area really well with those nice off-cutters to left-hand bowlers, left-hand batsmen. So that actually was a point of concern. So for me, Curran as a number 7 batsman did not get much opportunity to bat. To be fair to him, he scored 23 runs in the series, which was because lack of opportunity, not because he did not play well. And so for me, that's the point. And the other point is that as a bowler, now, okay, he's a predominant bowler who can bat, but bowling 10 overs in a 5-match series shows again that, England either does not value his bowling so much or they have other options. So if that is the case, England need to look at this. Like Curran at number 7 is a luxury. It's a good to have backup. But is he the best backup to have? Like, can they go with a extra batsman? Because there are players like Billings and others who can be utilized in this case. Good T20 players. So can they go for an extra batsman there? Or can they even look at, maybe if they think that, going to Indian conditions, can they go with an extra bowler? Muin Ali can be an option who can give you that extra bowling option. Maybe these are the questions which England team will be thinking about going into the World Cup. For me, Karan, with the performance in the series, I would rate him I would say 4 out of 10. He had a poor series on his challenge because again not completely his blame because he bowled only 10 overs. He picked up only 2 wickets. But one thing I stood out for him was from a positive point of view was the economy rate. He did give under 8 per over, which is good, given the conditions he got to ball in. So that was a positive for him. But yes, it was a poor series for him. But more importantly, it was a poor series it was a poor way of England utilizing him in the series. So that is our players, who we have selected for rating in this series. So that's 4 from England, 4 from and India. I know that a lot of you would be thinking, why not you didn't review Shreyas Iyer, who had a good enough series, maybe Ishan Kishan, who was other debutant, and Shardul Thakur and other players. But again, as you told, if you start reviewing every player, it takes a lot of time, and we thought we'll pick 4 players. But if in case you have some inputs, your queries, your ratings for the same players or your rating for other players, do feel free to share in the comments. And that's pretty much our rating from this series. So Vaishakh, off to you.
I think it was a good format where you rated a few good players and you talked about how they performed. It really, saw how each team is preparing, and there are so many options for both India and England. And that also summarizes, like how KL Rahul and Virat Kohli is being evaluated. Both started in a very bad way. And if I'm right, KL Rahul had 3 ducks in his last 5 innings. And that's pretty lot for in T20 when you have so many innings. It's just an unforgiving format where if you're not in form, you won't be picked. And what we need right now not just in T20, in any format of the game, is that we have to win the first match. The next important competitive match coming up is the World Test Championship, and there we have to win the first match. We can't, lose the first match and then think about winning the next match. So we have to think about, starting. We have to think about starting at a high. We cannot think about, starting with a low and then think about coming back in the series. If you have any comments about this series, please do comment. Please like our video and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, stay safe. Goodbye.